Michael Asten, thank you so much for joining me. Good to see you again. Look, the problem is worse because governments are driving our coal-fired power stations out of business without having much to replace them. So many renewable projects, running way behind, costing billions more. Snowy 2.0 scheme, talked about early this week. First off, what is the likelihood of the Albanese government getting to this targeted set of having 82% of electricity coming from renewable energies like wind and solar just 7 years from now?
Well, Andrew, we've got some expert advice from Paul Broad on that. Paul Broad was the CEO of Snowy Hydro for some time, and when he was given this number, 82% renewables in 8 years' time, he said, no, it'll take 80 years, not 8 years, to achieve 82% renewables. Now, Paul Broad, CEO of an energy company, he does know what he's talking about, and we can assume that when he hears a fairy tale, he can spot it.
Well, in fact, Paul Broad was shown the door after telling the energy minister news he didn't want to know. So I think that tells you how deaf the government is. What is the estimated cost of getting to green energy? No coal, no gas, net zero.
Okay, so we've had a very major study done in Australia, 2-year study, 40 scientists involved, chaired by Robin Batterham, a former chief scientist of Australia. They came up with estimates that, yes, we can achieve net zero by the year 2060, but we will need coal until 2040. And the cost for the electrical sector to get to full net zero will be of the order of $2,000 billion.
That is extraordinary, $2,000 billion. And that group,
yes,
I've got a very personal reason for knowing, is quite expert. We have hundreds of years of coal under our feet in the meantime, hundreds of years of coal under our feet, cheap, very close to the surface, the brown coal in particular. That's coal that'll be left in the ground if the Greens and Labor get their way. What if we went now, instead of this $2,000 billion green energy fool's errand, what if we now went to the new low emissions coal-fired generators that other countries are building and we aren't? What would that cost?
Well, we've got experience from other countries. There are other countries in the West that are using these coal-fired new technology coal generators. And there are 10 countries in Asia also that are running these new technology coal-fired generators. These new ones, they're quite different from the old 1970s, 80s technology that we still use in Australia, steadily breaking down or being closed down. But there was a study done by an international engineering group a few years ago quantifying the cost of capital expenditure to install modern, new technology coal-fired power stations. And the capital costs per unit of energy that come from that study suggests that the coal-fired system is going to cost half as much as, for example, the capital expenditure of the new offshore wind farm in Hornsea in the UK. Coal-fire, half the cost of a renewable offshore wind farm. So those are the cost differences. Coal is cheaper, and coal comes with the bonus that the new technology cuts CO2 emissions by 1/3, and that's a real advantage, real reduction, while we have that result of being able to keep our lights on.
24-hour, 7-day-a-week power, very reliable. It powers when the sun's shining, not shining, and the wind's not blowing. Costs a fraction,
yes,
50,
yes.
Let's say $50 billion, I don't know, as opposed to $2,000 billion for the green energy fool's errand. Michael Asten, thank you so much for trying to bring some facts to a debate where it seems the crazies rule. Really appreciate your time.